I'm one of the co-organizers of Bloomington Peace Action Coalition and am chair of the Just Peace Task Force of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Bloomington. I'm also a member of the Bloomington branch of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, an organization that was founded during the First World War, which began 100 years ago. We are asking our senators, Joe Donnelly and Diane Coates, to do three things: to sit down with us, at least by video conference, and discuss Iran. Secondly, to withdraw their sponsorship of a very misguided and dangerous bill, the Nuclear Weapons Free Iran Act, S-1881, a bill that, in the judgment of the President of the United States and the Secretary of State, would lead to war with Iran. And thirdly, to renounce and to return campaign contributions from organizations that are lobbying on behalf of this legislation. In 2003, Senator Richard Lugar, at the time the ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, sat down in person with me and other concerned citizens for 45 minutes to discuss the invasion of Iraq. We talked about the unintended consequences of what turned out to be a tragic mistake, costing thousands of American lives, many more Iraqi lives, trillions of dollars, and chaos in the region that persists today. We would like to know whether Senator Donnelly and Senator Coates understand the seriousness of supporting a bill that could lead to a new, even more disastrous war with Iran. President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry, as part of the P5+1 nations, are negotiating an agreement to ensure that Iran does not develop nuclear weapons in return for relief from sanctions that have made it hard for ordinary Iranians to buy affordable food and medicine. The current Iranian leadership, led by President Hassan Rouhani and Foreign Minister Javad Zarif, represents a major change from hardliners of the past, and it is strongly in our interest to seize the opportunity for a peaceful resolution to this dispute. Failure of the negotiations would likely bring hardliners back to power in Tehran. The current negotiations involve highly technical guarantees to keep Iran nuclear weapons free. Instead, the bill sponsored by Senators Donnelly and Coates makes unnecessary and humiliating demands that would torpedo negotiations. Winston Churchill once said that the art of diplomacy is telling the other side to go to hell in such a way that it will ask for directions. Seriously, it is essential to respect the dignity of all nations and people and give them a face-saving way of doing what we need. The bill sponsored by our senators demands that Iran give up uranium enrichment even for nuclear power, an unnecessary requirement that would violate Iran's right to peaceful nuclear energy under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Even liberal Iranians remember, and bitterly remember, the CIA-backed coup of 1953 and would reject such a humiliating demand. This bill, S-1881, is strongly opposed, not only by President Obama and Secretary Kerry, but by former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, former National Security Advisors Brent Scowcroft, a Republican, and Zbigniew Brzezinski, a Democrat, as well as 9 former U.S. ambassadors to Israel and undersecretaries of state. I fail to understand why our senators would defy the collective wisdom of foreign policy experts and instead undermine diplomacy and lead us to war. It is particularly disturbing that this bill says that if Israel attacks Iran, the United States should provide military support. The decision to take the United States to war should never be delegated to a foreign power, even a close ally. In this case, the only nation in the Middle East that possesses nuclear weapons. U.S.-Israeli mutual defense treaties already specify that if any nation attacked Israel, the United States would provide military support. But this bill appears to promise American involvement for an Israeli attack on Iran, provided it is conducted in the name of self-defense. So-called preventive war is illegal under international law. In addition, numerous expert studies show that bombing Iran would actually spur, not stop, any Iranian quest for a nuclear weapon. It would also ignite regional chaos. It is easy to start wars and very hard to control or end them. The American people, the people of Indiana as well as the Middle East, cannot afford the human and economic costs of war. Finally, at a time when the pro-Israel, pro-peace organization J Street supports diplomacy and strongly opposes this legislation, we are deeply troubled that our senators are following the counsel of the right-wing organization, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. AIPAC and its allies have contributed $925,000 and $344,000 respectively to the bill's authors, Senators Mark Kirk and Bob Menendez, and our senators have received at least four-figure contributions as well. We call on Senators Donnelly and Coates to renounce and return any money from organizations lobbying on the Middle East or peddling this bill. War should not be for hire. We call upon Senators Donnelly and Coates to return to the great Hoosier foreign policy tradition of former Senator Richard Lugar and former Congressman Lee Hamilton. Senator Lugar and Congressman Hamilton are both associated with the work of the Iran Project, which is coordinating expert opinion in opposition to this dangerous bill. And we urge every citizen to pick up the phone and tell our senators that you want diplomacy, not war, and please to withdraw their sponsorship of this dangerous legislation. In the words of John F. Kennedy, let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Senators Donnelly and Coates should support, not undermine, a historic opportunity for security and peace. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.